Welcome back to the Hydro and Co podcast. This episode's probably going to be titled Midseason Awards, and that's what we're here to talk about. But most importantly, Chase, Kendall, how are we doing?
Hi, boys. I'm back, married, ready to go. Sorry I missed last week.
I'm
Congratulations,
next.
man.
Wesley's next, but
Hell yeah.
I brought a little bit of a sickness with me, but hey, we're making it.
we're down with the sickness.
I,
Don't worry.
I've heard bronchitis has been going around like a motherfucker.
It sure has. We're going through it right here in our house. So
Hell yeah. Well, boys, I think that this was a pretty eventful week. I will say for me and Kendall at least. Chase, I mean, kind of a run of the mill week for you. You'll get to talk a little bit more about it. But Kendall, you haven't got to talk on here in quite a bit, so we'll let you start and talk about the Raiders last week and what's transpired from your game on Sunday to now.
well, so I get back from my honeymoon from Orlando and Disney, come all the way back home, and then I was at the game. Traveled to Cincinnati right after my honeymoon, worn out. 4 hours there to watch us go down the field and score first. A lot of energy, and then it was like after the first possession, we got outscored probably 30 something to 3, I think it was. Or no, Brock Bowers had a late touchdown. But anyway, I drove all that way after a honeymoon just to get blown out. But little bit, part of me was kind of expecting at this point. I mean, we're bad, but the biggest news around the Raiders this week is Luke Getsy, offensive coordinator, finally got fired. Been calling for it for weeks now. It was just time to make a change. There's not much talent on the offense to work with nowadays, but at the same time, there was no adjustments, no like want to do anything different. It was just the same old stuff that never works. And then along with that, we fired our offensive line coach and our quarterback coach. So Scott Turner, Norv Turner's son, is going to get a chance to call plays now. And we just brought in Norv Turner to kind of mentor him and help him throughout each step. So to me, it's kind of like how AP was last year. He's going to get the second half of the season. Scott and Norv, see if they got anything up their sleeve. If they do, maybe they'll stick around. If not, they'll probably be gone after the year. But as of this week, same old stuff with the Raiders. But I am excited to watch a rebuild because it's just been tough to watch, and I'm just trying to find something positive to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chase, how about you, man?
Oh, same old winning ball games. Enjoying life. Sundays are fun. Except for last Sunday. Last Sunday was awful. I don't know how much you guys probably watched the game. I know White said he watched 10 snaps, and then Kendall was busy traveling back. But we were up, I want to say it was, what was it, 16? No, 15. I can't remember. 15, 16, or 17. I can't remember. To nothing. The Jaguars had maybe one first down the first half, had like 30 something yards, and it felt like another blowout win that was going to happen. And second half started, the Jags scored a touchdown. Fine, that's fine. It happens. Like completely shutting out a team is tough to do in the NFL, and it was bound to happen. And then very next drive for the Eagles, Saquon trips and falls and fumbles the ball as she's on the ground, and they pick it up and score a touchdown. You look back at the replay, they do they do a review, and you see the defender's fingers just kind of graze Saquon's chin, and you're like, "Yep, he's down." And then the refs come back and say, "Call on field is confirmed, touchdown Jags," and that blew my mind because if you watch football, if they say call confirmed, that means they, without a doubt, know that that's the right call. If they say stands, typically that means they don't have enough to overturn it. It could be either way, but like they can't overturn it. They said confirm, and so that's crazy because I guarantee you, if Saquon would have got up and ran for a touchdown, they would have brought that shit right back. They said that because he bounced off the lineman, he was stumbling. Um, it wasn't counted as like contact, I guess. So that completely like threw off the trajectory of the game. It was going to be a blowout, and it ended up being a really close game. Luckily, Devontae Smith had maybe the craziest one-handed catch of the week. Jacoby Dean, they said he couldn't do pass coverage, and he picked off Trevor Lawrence pass that looked like dog shit. It was awful, but I mean, he made a play on it, and the Eagles win. We move on to I think 6-2 now. No, 7-2. No, 6-2. And so now we got the Cowboys, the Dakless Cowboys, maybe the CD-less Cowboys this week, and we'll see what happens then.
All right. I guess let's save best for last.
Oh yeah.
What am I kidding? The Saints played on Sunday. I watched about 10 snaps. One of those 10 snaps was a hospital ball thrown by Derek Carr to Chris Olave. Chris Olave proceeded to get knocked out cold, it looked like. Probably the worst like wide receiver getting hit I've seen like live watching a game since Darius Hayward-Bay, which that was like 2014. Feels like that was a long time ago. But I remember that because fucking Darius was out for like 10 minutes. Like it was bad. Well, Olave I knew it was bad when I saw the hit, but I knew it was really bad when they didn't show the replay and they instantly went to commercial break. I was actually out eating dinner with my family, and I was just like, holy shit. I pretty much turned the game off after that. Didn't watch the rest of it. We lose. And I made a pact to myself that I wouldn't watch another snap of Saints football until Dennis Allen got fired after we lost to the Panthers. That didn't take very long. Gail Benson was listening to me and decided that she was going to fire Dennis Allen for me so I could watch the games. So, Gail, I appreciate you. Yeah, Dennis Allen got fired. I'm pretty happy about it. We won a battle. There's a farther war that we need to win, which involves the firing of Mickey Loomis. But I don't see that war ending anytime soon. They talked to Tom Pelissero this week, and he quoted as saying that Mickey Loomis is so ingrained in the organization that he's considered almost an owner, and his tenure is looked at like an owner, and that there is essentially no way on God's green earth he's getting fired. It is really whether he wants to retire, and when that moment is, will be he'll get to pick when he wants to be done, which I think is fucking insane. But it's the truth. It's pretty true, and that's how it's going to go. And I think by firing your head coach, you kind of buy yourself another year if you're Mickey Loomis before you really have to answer to the music. But now Darren Rizzi gets a coach. For you all that don't know who Darren Rizzi is the special teams coordinator for the Saints. He's been the special team coordinator for the Saints for a couple years now. He's regarded as one of the best special team coordinators in the NFL. He's actually the one that adopted the new kickoff idea and brought it to the competition committee to get approved. So you might like him for that or you might hate him for that, but he's kind of the one that drove that one home. He's also he's kind of like a dark horse head coaching hire the last couple off seasons. He just hasn't gotten a job. And now he has a chance. He's got 10 weeks, essentially 9 games in 10 weeks to prove that he's the guy. Now he's a really big locker room guy. He's kind of like a Dan Campbell type, rallied the troops, hard nosed, kind of really aggressive kind of guy. So I'm hoping that we see some hints of that. I mean, he's not going to be Dan Campbell, but can we see? We need the troops. The locker room. I don't think the locker room has been together since Jameis Winston got berated for letting Jamal Williams get a touchdown at the end of last season. I just feel like ever since that point, it's been off. Even with the two wins at the start of the year, it just kind of put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole at that point. So I'm interested to see what we do from there on out. Marshawn getting traded today to the Commanders is kind of, in my opinion, the start of our rebuild. I feel like that's the first domino to fall, and I'm interested to see what continues to happen going forward. Yeah, we suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what turn of
Right
events
there.
for you, bud?
We're right there with you, bud.
I'm not.
You're not. I'm
Chase is not.
just holding out hope for Shadur Sanders at this point.
Nah.
I need that in my life. All right, moving forward. As everyone watching this knows, we're recording this on November 5th. Well, what happens to be November 5th? Election day. No, I'm just kidding. Trade deadline day. What's more important? So we've had a couple trades come through the pipe today. Not a whole lot. I feel like I was expecting a little bit more today, but it was still a pretty good day. But I think the big thing to talk about with you two is what trade that happened today or earlier in the week leading up to the deadline do you think is the biggest needle mover for a team moving forward for the rest of the year?
Go ahead, Chase.
That's a tough one. Because I was at work I didn't get to see all of them yet. But I guess the one thing that I will say, it's not a needle mover, but I think the Lions needed more help than what they got on the edge. I know they only traded for Darius Smith, right? That's the only edge rusher they got.
Yep.
It's not going to fix the problem that they have, and I do think that that's going to be a problem. I think they have. I saw a stat that says they have like a 4% pass rush win rate since week 7. That's whenever Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg. And I think it's like the second worst or third worst in the NFL. So that's going to be a problem that's going to haunt them. They're probably the hottest team in the NFL. I know the Chiefs exist, but I mean they'll get humbled eventually. But I mean it's going to be an issue for them, and I do think that they need more. But as far as like the biggest needle mover, I'll answer that question in like 10 seconds. So I'm going to pass the mic to Kendall. I'm going to look over what happened, and now answer the question.
All right. My opinion, the biggest needle mover was Chase probably ain't like this, but
Hell no.
or Wyatt. Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders. And
I fucking love it.
The reason I say that is because, like, if you're being real, if you look at the Commanders roster, how it's shaped up, how they're playing, their glaring need was secondary, and they went out and got a guy in the past who's been a very proven corner. He can shadow anybody in the past. So if they can get 80% of what peak Marshawn Lattimore is, then I think that greatly improves their defense. And I think as far as needle moving, that was definitely the winner for me.
Well, I don't think it's the biggest.
I also would just like to say that this trade deadline kind of sucked.
Yeah. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the trades. I saw a lot of these. I thought maybe I missed some. Now the Marshawn Lattimore has the potential to be like the biggest needle mover, but I don't believe in him personally. I think that the Commanders definitely overpaid for him because what was it,
third,
fifth?
Fourth, and sixth, I think.
And we gave him a fifth back.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for a cornerback. He's been hurt this year. So, but we'll see. Hey, I'm sure Marshawn's glad to be out of the NFC South. He doesn't have to see daddy over there at the Bucks every year. So
shit,
that shit. Yeah. He get tossed like a little bitch every time.
he'd been housing Mike Evans the last like 3 years.
No, Mike Evans whooped that ass every time. So, but I mean, there's not a lot. If you look at it, I mean, it's got to be him. I think the next closest one would be Darius Smith. But Jonathan Mingo got traded to the Cowboys.
Yep. What a needle mover there.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, that's probably my answer.
That one was kind of like, I know Jonathan Mingo. He's not he's nowhere close to a needle mover. But I was surprised to see the Cowboys. By going and trading for a player, you showed that you were trying to buy. So that to me was kind of shocking. Like your quarterback's going on IR, your receiver's frustrated, struggling. You've got a bad record right now. I would have whatever pieces are in Dallas that you could have sold, I would have sold and just
Yeah.
regroup.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's happy, and I think another player that's really happy that he got traded was Khalil Herbert. Zach Moss is out for the year. I'm a Chase Brown guy. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm excited for Chase Brown to get a lot of opportunities. Khalil Herbert's not going to really, take a lot of opportunities away from Chase Brown, but I mean he's going to get a lot more opportunities than he did in Chicago. I think he played like week 2, and then the rest of the way it was DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. Right?
Yep.
So he's happy, but yeah, that's the only one I think is notable. That could possibly be a needle mover.
I think the trade of Marshawn is just as big of a gain for us as it was for the Commanders, if not more. You get a third, fourth, and a sixth back. Now we have 4 picks high in the first 3 rounds. We also get rid of a 28-year-old corner with an injury history, which just so happens to open up a spot for Kool-Aid to actually get to play. I'm excited to see Kool-Aid actually get out there and get constant. He's going to just have to go out there and play. And with Marshawn out in front of him, he didn't get to play as much as people hoped. So I think it's good on them to finally see, hey, long term, Kool-Aid's supposed to be the guy. Let's let him go out there and get some reps in and learn and, send Marshawn to a team that is contending. And Marshawn Lattimore was a great player for us, and I hate to see him go, but I'm glad that he's going to a place where he has a chance to compete for a division title and hopefully further on into the playoffs. So, but I agree with you guys that the trade deadline was pretty whack. And unless Darius Smith can start drawing double teams and open up spots for other edge rushers, I don't think that's going to be a huge needle mover either. Because if you're confident that you can defend Zadarius Smith with one guy, then what changes? You know what I mean? That's such an advantage for an offensive line not having to double anybody in pass pro. So, all right.
I'll add this. I'll add this real quick. I think that the point that I'm trying to make, as far as I think it's an overpay, is Marshawn he's a very good cornerback when he's healthy, but he's 28 years old, and cornerback is one of those positions where you have to be young. There's a few people that have been able to do it past like the age of 30. Gilmore, Darius Slay are the 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. But typically, once you hit like 29, 30, you start seeing like a decline. And I think with that 3rd round pick, you could have drafted somebody that you could have developed to even. You can't guarantee that he'd be better than Marshawn, but I mean, you'd have him a lot longer, I think. So that's my biggest thing with that. A 3rd is crazy, but it is what it is.
Well, another corner too that got traded was Tre'Davious White. He got traded to the Ravens for like a 7th round pick. It was a 7th round pick swap. Honestly, for a Ravens team who has the most dropped interceptions in all of football, I don't hate that move either. Championship pedigree corner, pretty solid. But all right, my dog's barking. I'm sorry. But do we want to go ahead and move on into our awards?
Absolutely. Let's get into this.
Okay, stop barking. I'm sorry.
You're good, buddy. Take it away.
So we have our normal awards that we normally have. I think we should move from least relevant to most relevant, and then I think we should sprinkle in our custom awards at the end. How do y'all feel about that?
That works with me, buddy. Sir.
All right. So I think the most okay, I wouldn't say it's the most irrelevant award, but it's not the biggest one to debate. I think it's Coach of the Year. So Coach of the Year, I think there's some pretty good options. I'm interested to see what you guys have. So Chase, Kendall, whoever wants to go ahead and share their pick, let's just go ahead and get them out there and see if we agree or we think we're fucking stupid.
My Coach of the Year, it came down to two people, and I think it's going to depend if this is midseason, so if these teams keep doing what they're doing. I think it's going to come down to whether they look at which team it looks more like a juggernaut or which team drastically improved more. But in my opinion, I would give it to Dan Campbell because the Lions look, in my eyes, I know there's a team that I hate that's undefeated, but the Lions, in my eyes, look like the best team in football right now. And they lost Aiden Hutchinson. They're by far their best defensive player. You could argue he's their best player. And they still have shown no signs of slowing down. Jordan Love looked lost at times in that game that I was watching on the car ride home. So I would give it to Dan Campbell. My other one I was debating between was Dan Quinn for the Commanders.
Yep, and that's who I'd give it to. I don't want to give it to him, but like I said, as of now, there's no reason for him not to be the favorite. I mean, the Commanders, I think, had like a 4 or 5 projected win total at the beginning of the year. They already hit 7. Jaden Daniels looks good, like I said, but I do think that they haven't been tested. I think that this weekend is going to be an awesome test for them. Well, they did play the Ravens, but they lost that test. You know, they played the Bucks, they lost that test too. But here's a I guess a closer test of the Steelers. So I think Dan Quinn has it. I think a sleeper that I could probably throw in there is Jonathan Gannon from the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals, if they get hot and they make the playoffs, I think he could easily jump from not the middle of the pack, but he don't like the end of like the top of the pack. But I think he could jump up there. He's been a pretty good coach. I hated him once he left, and Eagles fans really didn't like his scheme, but he was good at defense statistically, and he's been doing all right in Arizona as well.
Well, it's funny you say that because if Arizona makes the playoffs, I proved a lot of people wrong with my preseason prediction. So, just saying. But otherwise, I picked someone that has not even been named yet. And that might be crazy, but I have Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota. Team with a lot of question marks coming into the year. You know, you get rid of Kirk in the offseason. You come in with Sam Darnold. It kind of felt like it was a rebuild year, and McCarthy was going to take over the starting job. I very well could have saw this being like a kind of like how it is in Indy, but kind of reversed, where you start the year with the old guy and switch over to the young guy. But it's been nothing even short to that. Obviously, JJ got hurt, but Sam Darnold has been really good throughout the beginning of the year. I know they had a tough loss to the Lions a couple weeks ago, but I still think that if they continue on their trajectory, let's say they win the NFC North, one of the best divisions of football right now, top to bottom, I think he's a candidate for sure. But I like y'all's picks too. I think Dan Quinn's way up. Like if I had to pick someone else, it'd probably be Dan Quinn, just because of how well that team has. If there's a fucking coordinator of the year award, it needs to go to fucking Cliff. I'll just say that, and that's really helped Dan Quinn elevate himself as a head coach too. Any other comments about Coach of the Year?
I think for the people that might be out there being like, oh, what about Dan Campbell or like maybe like Andy Reid? No, because these guys their teams are supposed to be good. I know a lot of people will be like that, but Kevin O'Connell, as long as the Vikings play and win, he'll be fine. But if they start falling and Sam Darnold starts seeing ghosts again.
All right. Well, moving on to comeback player of the year. Kendall, let's start with you. Who you have as the comeback player of the year?
Damar Hamlin.
Did he? I'm blanking. Did he
He
win
did-
it
he
last year? Didn't?
No, he didn't.
Flacco?
No.
Flacco won it last year.
Yeah, Flacco won it last year.
Okay, so
Damar Hamlin did not win.
so theoretically, this would be the year that Damar Hamlin would win, right? Or was he
He-
favored to win? Okay,
He's
Well-
right now in the odds. He's fourth.
okay. Well, I didn't pick him. I picked Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury, and he's going to come down to the Falcons or the Bucks for that division title, and that offense looks good. And Arthur Smith was clearly the problem, along with Desmond Ritter, who is now a Raider. And I got to see him Sunday, so that was fun. But anyway, Kirk Cousins is my comeback player of the year.
He's mine too, but for the show's sake, I'm going to pick J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins. He's I believe he's towards Achilles last year with the Ravens. He got signed to a 1-year prove-it deal with the Chargers. He got signed with his former teammate Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards has been out for the past couple of weeks, and J.K. Dobbins has been like the every down back. So he's had opportunities to show that he can play, and he's taken advantage of it for the most part. He doesn't look like he's slowing down much, and he's on a fantasy team. So he scored 27 points for me last week, and I'll take it. But I'm gonna go with J.K. Dobbins, even though Kirk is definitely my pick.
Well, there went my pick. My pick, J.K. Dobbins.
You can take Aaron Rodgers.
For the show's sake, I'm going to take Damar Hamlin. The guy fucking died. Didn't play very well or at all last year. But once they got rid of all their fucking safeties, Damar's had to play. And I haven't heard a whole lot about him. So that means he hasn't been a liability, because if so, everyone on social media would point it out. So he must be playing at least solid. And if he's fourth in the odds, I'll take Damar Hamlin.
Well, he tried to kill Jalen
But
Waddle.
I did pick J.K. Dobbins. Hey, he's a Grim Reaper, man. All right. Moving on, defensive rookie of the year. I'm going to start this one. I'm going to be dead ass honest. I looked up rookie leaders in sacks and interceptions to determine my decision here. Funny enough, they both play for the Rams. So good on the Rams for drafting. And I got Jared Verse from the LA Rams as my defensive rookie of the year.
I also have Jared Verse, and I did the same thing Wyatt did. I was sitting there trying to scroll through defensive rookies and see how everybody's doing, and there's not many that are doing that great.
No, there's not a lot.
But
he's getting like what, 3.5 sacks?
Yeah, I mean, he's like the odds-on favorite, and he's got 3.5 sacks. I don't know. But when you look back at the draft, like the first 13, 14 picks or whatever it was were all offensive players. So this was you kind of seen this coming a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not picking Jared Verse. I actually wanted Jared Verse whenever we were doing our draft coverage and stuff. I'm gonna go with my guy Quinyon Mitchell. If he gets a couple picks, he will be up there. The only problem with him is every time he's had the opportunity to get a pick, he has dropped it because he is one brick-handed motherfucker. Also, sleeper pick, his teammate Cooper DeJean. Look out for him too, because he's making plays too. I love those guys. They make me smile. Let's move on before I get too happy.
Cooper's one of us, man.
One of us.
Cooper motherfucking DeJean. Okay. Offensive rookie of the year. This one should be interesting. I don't know which angle Chase is going to take, so why don't we go ahead and start with you? Because I could see you going one or two main people here, and I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick. So we'll start with you.
Jake and Logan still watch the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sure do, buddy.
All right. For the show's sake and my sake, I'm picking Caleb Williams. Bear down. But here's what the media is going to pick. They're going to pick Jaden Daniels, which is a mistake. I think you could argue Caleb Williams could win it. I think you also could argue that Brock Bowers could win it, or maybe even Malik Neighbors. This whole thing is stacked. I think that Jay Daniels just plays for a 7-2 team, which rightfully so. He's the quarterback. He's going to get a lot of the votes. But if he hits a wall, watch out for Neighbors or Bowers to win this. Surprisingly, Bo Nix is up there in the odds as well. He's third. But
Probably because of rushing yards. He's like top fucking 12 in the league in rushing right now.
Run.
Or no,
Bo.
it's probably like top 20 or something like that, but it's high for some odd reason.
I was watching Red Zone, and on the bottom of the screen it shows like the rushing leaders, and it was like 4. No, it was like I don't know when it was later in the day. It was like Bo Nix, like 7th place. So I was like, okay, what is he doing there? But yeah, all
right, for the show's sake, because I know who Wyatt's going to pick, and the dude deserves it. I'll just go ahead and say I'm not taking anything away from Jay Daniels. He's been balling out,
overrated.
but I want the voters to just try to think outside the box a little bit here. I'm being biased, but think outside the box. Think of a non-quarterback. When you have a rookie tight end that the position has shown in the past, rookies usually struggle. And then Brock Bowers that came in the league heading into last week. I haven't looked now, but heading into last week, he was leading the league in receptions. He has the most receptions by a tight end in his first 8 games ever. So I just hope they at least considering like the position he plays is not quarterback. It's not even a receiver. It's a tight end. And whether we're throwing it to him or running, like majority of the time we're running to his side, or he even like pulls, and like whenever he goes in motion, he's a lead blocker a lot of times. So Brock Bowers is our offense. So I just hope they at least consider it.
Well, y'all expect me to pick Jaden Daniels?
Pick Caleb.
I'm going to pick Jaden Daniels. The motherfucker's on pace for 4,000 yards in the air and 1,000 yards on the ground. His team is 7-2. The kid has just got motion. I'll be honest, straight up. The kid's got motion, and he's a menace. And he's got a killer mentality, and I love his attitude, and I love his poise. And he's shown that he's clutch with the Hail Mary. You want to blame the Bears fucking corner? Go ahead. I don't care. It was a clutch play. And yeah, so Jane Daniels is that guy. I would love to see his passing touchdowns go up a little bit, but they have trended up as the years went on. He's only at 9. So like he's only on pace for 18 throwing touchdowns, but he is on pace for another 8 on the ground. So 26 total touchdowns, 4,000 yards, 1,000 yards on the ground. That's a hard one to not vote for, especially for a quarterback on a playoff team. So I think if Caleb Williams' team by the end of the year is a very similar record, like within 2 to 3 games, there's a really big conversation to be had because Caleb Williams has played really good football up until this point. The team has just had its ups and downs. You can blame Eberflus. You can blame growing pains. You can blame a young team, whatever you want to blame. But Caleb has shown poise throughout it all. So I think it is definitely an argument if those two teams finish with similar records.
Just one more thing, just to clarify. So I just looked it up because I was talking about heading into last week. Updated, Brock Bowers is second in the league in receptions, but only behind Garrett Wilson, and he trails him by 3 now. Garrett Wilson has 21 more targets. So give me Brock Bowers.
All right. Now we're moving into the big boy awards. Defensive player of the year. Kendall, why don't you go first? Who do you got for defensive player of the year?
I went with TJ Watt, and he's not in the top 5 in sacks. He's not in the top 5 in tackles, obviously, as an edge rusher. He's not in top 5, I don't think, in pressures, but he has 4 strip sacks, 4 forced fumbles, which is by far the league lead. And I know I think it was the Giants, and he had one against us. Like those strip sacks, they come at a clutch moment, whether the team has all kinds of momentum and looks like they're about to take the lead. All of a sudden, TJ Watt wrecks the game. or if it's late in the fourth quarter, like we saw against the Giants, I think he had a strip sack and got the Steelers the ball back. So it's like he got those four forced fumbles, and they've all come in like the most crucial times. So I would give it to TJ Watt.
That's who I was going to go with, but there's not really an argument, to be honest with you. Nobody's really, like, in my opinion, stood out like we've had in years past. They can make an argument for, like, Dexter Lawrence. You can make an argument for Xavier McKinney, Chris Jones, Trey Hendrickson. But, I mean, I would go with TJ Watt for the same reasons that Kendall just mentioned. That's who my vote is.
I'm going to make the argument for Trey Hendrickson, former Saint. Kind of how I look at this award, it's unless you have a secondary player with a shitload of interceptions, it's whoever the sack leader is, 9 times out of 10. Trey Hendrickson had 4 sacks on Sunday, so he's at 11. He's on pace for 22 sacks now. Even if he keeps his normal pace on what he was projected to before the 4-sack game, that's still 18 sacks. I think if he finished with 18 to 20 sacks, it's pretty much lock and key at that point for me, just based on how the award typically gets given out. I'm not saying that he's the most valuable defensive player, because 4 strip sacks is one of the most valuable defensive plays you can possibly have as an edge rusher. But just knowing how this award is usually given out, I think Trey Hendrickson is definitely in contention currently.
I think this award was, like you said, by far, it was like the most wide open. I think that's what Chase said. I think whenever I was looking over them, I was thinking of about 6 or 7 different guys. So most of these awards, it came down to 1 or 2.
All right. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year. Chase, start us off, man. Who do you got for your Offensive Player of the Year? And why is it Saquon Barkley?
Saquon Barkley is the most important player on the Eagles. I mean, he's only behind Derrick Henry. He's trailing him by 127 yards. Derrick Henry's played 1 more game than him. So, of course, his stats are a tad bit better. Derrick Henry has fumbled the ball 1 more time than Saquon. And the fumble that Saquon had wasn't really a fumble, but that's neither here nor there. Saquon is the most exciting player in the NFL right now. And I would argue that he's the best running back in the league. But some people are going to say Derrick Henry. I get it. Some people are still going to say CMC. I get that too. But Saquon's my guy. He has shocked me completely. Didn't think he'd be this good. Glad he's on the Eagles, though. I'll tell you that. And I'm sure he's glad as well.
All right. I'll go next. I'm going to pick a receiver here. I'm going to pick Jay Jettis. Right now, he's second in touchdowns to Jamar Chase. And I think he's like 25 to 30 more yards than Jamar in 1 less game. So right now he's on pace for 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns right now. So I do think kind of how I look at this award, unless if the quarterback is an MVP, which all signs point it's going to be, then you essentially give it to a receiver unless a running back breaks like 1,600 yards. Usually is what happens. So Derek and Saquon are on the short list of being the winner at running back, but I feel like at this current pace, Jay Jettis has a pretty solid chance to be Offensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to play a little mini game with y'all here. If I were to tell you that a skill position player was to have over 1,000 yards on the year and 11 touchdowns, y'all say that's a pretty good year?
Yeah.
Good year, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what Derrick Henry has right now at the halfway point. That is by far no. I don't want to say by far. The Eagles did get Saquon. It's definitely them two. What it's looking like the biggest signings of the offseason. And it's two dynamic backfields that they play for. I would lean Henry just because of the touchdown advantage, but I totally get Saquon. He has been the heartbeat of the Eagles this year.
He gets vultured every week.
He does, but he still has 5 more touchdowns. But who knows? Saquon could have 5 touchdowns in one game because he has played one less game. So we'll see. But my pick is Derrick Henry.
How many yards is he at?
1,052.
So he's on pace. He's 1 yard short of the rushing record at that pace.
Yes. If he keeps it up,
21:05.
he'll have a. If he keeps his pace up, he'll have a realistic shot to break the rushing record.
He'd be at 21:04 if you duplicate it right across with 22 touchdowns. So, like I said, you break over 1,600 yards as a running back, you're probably winning Offensive Player of the Year. So that totally makes sense. Now, moving on to the final award of the show, and some would say it's the most valuable MVP. Kendall, who is your 2024 midseason prediction for most valuable player?
We're gonna go with back-to-back winner here. I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson. He's 3rd in the league in passing yards, tied for 2nd in passing touchdowns with only 2 picks. He leads the league in QBR and passer rating. Him and Derrick Henry are running the best offense in football right now, and he's played one more game than some of the other candidates, but you factor in he's also got, I think it was over 500 yards rushing, maybe. Yeah, I think it's Lamar. He'll win his 3rd MVP.
He is 10th or 11th in the NFL in rushing yards right now.
Yeah, and that's correct. When you think about it, like when you have a running back in the backfield that has over 1,000 yards already at the halfway point, and you're still 3rd in passing yards, and you've accounted for over 500 rushing yards, that I don't know. They just go.
They
up and down
realistically
the
could finish with 3,000 rushing yards as a team.
Yes, very easily.
In today's NFL, that's fucking insane.
I'm gonna go with somebody who wasn't on the radar a couple weeks ago, who has skyrocketed these charts. What are you doing?
Jalen?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. As long as Jalen Hurts continues to play the way he's been playing these past couple of weeks, and he can continue to play it for, I don't know, the next. How many games we got? 9 games left. 9 or 8? Can't
Have
remember.
you had your bye?
Yeah, we've had our bye.
It's 9.
You got 9.
Oh fuck yeah, we got 9 more games. Yes. This season has flown by, and it's making me sad. I remember yesterday. It feels like yesterday that the season started, but if Jalen can continue to play at the rate he's been playing, there's no doubt in my mind that he will definitely be in MVP talks. He hasn't turned over the ball in I think like 4 weeks now, after starting off the year with at least a turnover every single game. He's scoring touchdowns through his arm, his legs, and they're not just tush pushes. They're actual legitimate rushing touchdowns. He's looking a lot more like he did in 2022 whenever we went to the damn game and fucked it all up. But I'm gonna give it to Jalen. I think he'll surprise people, and we're gonna look back at this award show and be like, "Yeah, Chase was right."
I don't really have a dramatic ending to this. I have Lamar too. So
I will say that right now, Lamar and Josh Allen are both tied as far as odds go, according to BetMGM. Yeah,
I'm gonna say this: I don't care if the Chiefs go fucking 18-0. No fucking way, Patrick Mahomes MVP.
They can't go 18-0.
17-0, whatever the fuck it is. He can't be MVP. He just sounded that good.
Well, they play the Raiders again this year, so.
Yeah.
But
moving on.
You need a candle?
I need something.
This damn. They damn shot in the ass.
In between this and Jeopardy, I'm gonna take a couple shots of Fireball.
Hell yeah. Whiskey, whiskey, won't you go away?
All
Okay.
right.
Game picks. I will say, looking at this morning when I was making my picks, a little bit better slate, I think. Going into this week. I don't know how y'all feel, but we'll go ahead and get started.
I'm glad we got a good Thursday night game.
Yeah, it's about fucking time. Cincinnati travels to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Who do we got?
I'm gonna take it might turn into not a good game, but it's at least it'll be an exciting game to watch, is what I was trying to get at. But I've got the Ravens, but I do think there is a shot that the Bengals can keep it competitive, because the Ravens, if there is a weakness with the Ravens, it's their secondary, and Jamar Chase could go off against that secondary. But I'm taking the Ravens.
I'm gonna take the Ravens too, but I want to say this. I'm glad that this week it seems like there will be different picks for different games, because in our pool, it seems like every week it's just chalk, and then like somebody will make like a bold pick that's right or wrong, and they'll move up the rankings. But I think this is going to shake up our standings in our little league we got. But I'm gonna go Ravens here.
All right. I'm picking the Ravens too, but I will say if Cincinnati wins this week, their trajectory of their entire season changes. If I'm them, I'm treating this like it's our kind of our Super Bowl, like hyping this game up more than others. I'm trying to get a win here. But moving on to arguably the worst fucking out of the normal time frame matchup of all time. 8:30 in the morning over in Germany. The Giants play the Panthers, and which very well could be the least watched televised football game all season long. In the words of our defensive lineman after we lost to the Carolina Panthers, this is the doo-doo Charmin Bowl. So I will keep the same token for this game as well. Who do you have winning the doo-doo Charmin Bowl?
I'm excited these two teams are playing, just because one of them has to win, and that means the Raiders will move up in the draft order. So that excites me. But I will take the New York Giants. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be watching this game.
I love that the NFL has sent these two teams over to Germany to showcase the great sport of football. That might be played on the field, it might not be. I'm taking the Giants. I don't feel confident in it at all. Just please, for the love of God, Daniel Jones, throw the ball to Malik Neighbors 100 times. Thank
you. Carolina is the coach killer. Maybe they will get the last two teams they've beat and played. A coach has been fired the next week, so Brian Daboll, you better watch out. Moving on to 12 o'clock, New England takes a trip over to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears. I personally have the Chicago Bears quite convincingly in this game. Bear down.
Yeah, if you look at the Bears this year, if you look at their home stuff, like home stats and away stats, at home they're one of the best teams in the league. Away, they're one of the worst teams in the league. So they're at home. So I think they're going to blow the Patriots out.
I'm never picking against my guys. Give me the Bears.
All right, moving on. Buffalo travels down to Indianapolis to take on the Indianapolis Colts. After they benched AR5, Joe Flacco will be the starter. Who do we have in this game? I will spoil it. Buffalo.
Yep.
Bills.
All right. That's pretty easy. Moving on to another game that I think will also be a pretty easy game. I don't know. Maybe not. No, Minnesota travels to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. I got Minnesota pretty convincingly here.
Yep.
Give me the Vikings.
This is going to be the slow build up here, because these games are ass. But continue.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Denver takes on Kansas City.
Can I say this? It wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos win.
I hate
I
both
wouldn't
these
be.
teams.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm going to pick Kansas City until they lose, but I wouldn't be shocked either. Kendall,
Kendall's
you
going
do
to
have
this
to
one.
pick a
Blake.
game.
He's tie.
That'd be
I
some
can't
shit.
stand either one of these teams. I hope they both lose. I hope that's possible. But I hate the Chiefs a little bit more than I hate the Broncos. So give me the Broncos.
Say Bronco country. Let's ride. Do it
Hell
one
no,
time.
fuck,
All
no,
right.
fuck them.
All right.
Okay.
The Dirty Birds of the Atlanta Falcons traveled down to the New Orleans Superdome to play the Saints. First game for Darren Rizzi. I am a firm believer in first game for interim coaches typically leads to wins. So give me the Saints.
Yeah, I don't. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, go ahead and give me the Falcons.
Okay, understood. Moving on. A Tampa Bay team who played surprisingly well without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin gets to host a also banged up San Francisco 49ers team that might have CMC this week. So we will see on that one, though. I have the 49ers either way.
That's crazy because I have the Bucks either way. Whether CMC plays or not, I have the Buccaneers winning this game.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
It's just tough because I don't think either of these teams are that great right now. I think CMC moves the needle a little bit, but I think they're going to ease him back in. He's much better than Jordan Mason is. After watching Jordan Mason the past 2 weeks on on the TV, Jordan Mason sucks. I know he's got a lot of yards, but he sucks ass. And also, he's a bitch. Give me the Bucks out of spite. Fuck this.
Hell
All
yeah,
right,
me and Chase
moving
riding
on.
with the Bucks. You better not switch either.
I'm not. This game, I'm really interested on how the result of this game. Pittsburgh traveling to Washington to play the Commanders. Like you said earlier, this is a test for Washington, and I think they're going to rise to the occasion and win this one. I do think it'll be a good game, though.
I don't. Give me the Steelers.
I'll take the Commanders.
Oh, you're such a fucking motherfucker.
Well, the Titans are traveling to LA to play the Chargers. Chase, who do you have? Because I know Kendall's going to take the Titans.
Well, that's a game I'll gain on Kendall. Give me the Chargers.
Same here.
Will Levis is back. Tighten up.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes me pick the other team, but all right. Yeah, go for it, kid.
Jets Cardinals. Give me the Jets.
Taking the Cardinals.
That's respectable. I could see it going either way.
I'm going to say the Jets carry the momentum into this week, and I'm going to say they get another win. So give me the Jets.
Fuck that.
All right.
Philly and Dallas.
Dak's not playing. CD might not be playing. Cooper Rush's only loss was against the Eagles. Give me the Birds.
Yeah, Dak's not playing. CD may not play. It didn't matter either way. The Eagles are going to win.
Echo? There's an echo somewhere. I know. I hear it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was kidding.
Oh, okay. I'm going to take Philly. I think it's a pretty obvious one. Moving on. Detroit and Houston. What do you think here? I have Detroit. I think this is going to be a great fucking game, though.
Is Nico Collins supposed to be back in this one?
I think he's on IR, so I think that's a no.
Oh,
Well, I know he's on IR, but I was asking if he was coming back off IR for this one.
I didn't even know if his entry window's been opened yet. I don't know if it's been 4 weeks, has it?
I
Well,
don't think it has, but I'll do a quick search real quick for the boys.
either way, whether he's playing or not, I'm going to take the Lions. But I was going to say if Nico does play, I think it will be a great game.
Nico is eligible to come off the IR this week.
Yeah, I think if he plays, it will turn into a good game. If he don't play, I can see the Texans really struggling.
That's where I'm at. This my pick will change depending on that guy right there. That guy did not know he was 6'4", did not know he moves like that. That motherfucker is good at football.
All right. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football on ESPN. Miami plays the Rams. They're having 2 games at this field in 2 days. That fucking turf's gonna be beat the fuck up.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the fucking Jets and Giants do it. It seemed like a couple of weeks ago it was prime time for both of them, back-to-back nights. I'm picking the Rams, though. Sorry.
It's kind of a desperation. If the Dolphins have any kind of hope, because the AFC is weak, they have any kind of hope of making the playoffs, this is a desperation game for them. But I think the Rams play spoiler, and they get a 3rd win in a row.
So I have the Rams.
Sorry, 4th win in a row.
So they're slowly climbing back in this race. But with that being said, that's all we got for this week on the Hydro and Co show. We got some Jeopardy we're about to film here in a minute, so make sure to go check that out tomorrow. That will be dropping. Make sure to check out all our lovely sponsors down in the description. If you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you. If you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you as well. We love you guys, and can't wait to see you next week on the Hydro and Co show. And make sure to check us out on Jeopardy. Make sure to check out all the other link lineup shows and programs as well. Boys, you got anything else?
Go Birds.
The Raiders can't lose this week.
Go Saints. Who